America needs a tidal wave of the old-time religion.
I have sinned against you.
How dare you!
We have no need to doubt God.
The harlot Babylon is preparing the nations to receive the Antichrist.
I didn't even build that house with money from the church. I built it with money from my book.
I don't make this stuff up.
Repenting of your sin.
It is a moral issue.
They got together and swore a pact to the devil.
I just enjoy seeing people worship, praising God.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to
Believe It
or Not,
the show where we believe it.
Or we don't sometimes.
Sometimes we don't. I think most times we don't. But hey, this could be the day that I do.
Yeah, I doubt it. But I bet some of our listeners would identify with this. I don't know if it's a belief. Yeah, belief system. I think some of our listeners have reached out and said they're part of this. So sorry if I am stepping on any toes here, but we're talking Wicca.
Oh, yeah.
What do you know about Wicca or Wiccans?
They're people who practice witchcraft, I think, kind of thing. I did have that one book that I got at a thrift store that was basically how to practice witchcraft, and it was like a how-to guide. It was like how to do parties and seances, and all that stuff. I gave it to someone who I think got way more use out of it than I ever would have. I don't think they're like, oh, we're gonna be like casting real spells and things like that, are they? Or do some of them? I think most people are pretty self-aware.
Yeah, so with Wicca, it's a large spectrum. So there's people who fully believe in everything that's taught. There's people who believe there's different sects of it, like with any religion. And it's also like, it's not strict. There's no central party saying you have to believe it this way. So there's a lot of different viewpoints. It goes from monotheism to duotheism. Duotheism would probably be the most common, and polytheism. And as far as there's even like atheist Wicca, and that's more like they like the practices, but don't believe in the actual magic of it.
Right. Well, there's no real like centralized Wiccan body, is there?
No.
It's kind of more just like a hodgepodge of different people thinking different things based around a central kind of idea, right?
Yes, and like kind of it does have like a start. It does have like some central text and stuff that started it, but it's not. Yeah, it's not like
they didn't get caught up in the whole organized bit of it.
Exactly. Yeah, and they're kind of, in some ways, anti-religion, in some ways, just our religion. And again, it's a huge spectrum, so it's going to depend on from person to person. Yeah. So it's an interesting thing. I find it kind of funny how it started, but we'll get into that as well. So let's talk about some of their beliefs and some of the history.
Right. Before we start, do we call them Wiccans? Do we call them witches? What do we call them?
Yeah, so it depends on the person. So when it started, it was the people were to be considered the Wicca, and it only had one C at the beginning, and then that changed in the 60s, and then they would be considered witches, and it's a study of witchcraft, and then eventually it became that. It became the Wiccan religion, and then Wicca was the religion as opposed to just the people in the religion. Okay. A lot of people, it does basically mean witch or witchcraft. So some just refer to themselves as witches, some refer to themselves as Wiccan witches, and some of them just Wicca. It's all spooky. So yeah, like I said, most of them are duotheistic. So they believe in the male horned god and the mother goddess. Right. The horned god kind of looks like, the stereotypical like devil type thing, because they say that that's why we got horny. Yeah, that Christians basically stole the idea of like the horned god from the pagans and then made him evil as a way to like. Yeah.
The Christians stole a lot from the pagans. So
yes, they did.
That's no surprise there.
And then that's kind of tied to nature with the animal side to it. And then there's the mother goddess, and that's, kind of tied to fertility, things like that. The horned god is meant to be like example of how you should act as a man, and the mother goddess is an example of how you should act as a woman, or like one has the masculine side, one has the feminine side, and some view it as like a yin yang thing where they're kind of
right, kind of balance of
the balance of
different sides or whatever.
Yeah, there are some sects that just believe in the mother goddess. It's more of a goddess worship kind of cult.
Is that just from like my very, very limited knowledge of it? Is that there seems to be like a strong kind of feminist contingent to some of those? Is that it would you consider maybe this is connected to that?
Yeah, for sure. And that's exactly what it is. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of feminist roots within Wicca. It goes back to, one of the first people they look at, Margaret Murray, who we'll talk about more in a second. She was a first wave feminist. Like, she was an Egyptologist and a feminist, and a lot of inspiration from her. And then, and breaking away from the horn god and just concentrate on the mother goddess is kind of the way to make it a more feminist kind of religion. And because they used to have, it was like they would have the high priest, and then some would just have high priest, it would just depend. You could be a high priest or a high priestess, and then some are just like, no, it's a high priestess, you have to have a woman in charge. So it really depends on, again, there's this is one of those things. And if you watch the Religion for Breakfast, which is a great YouTube channel too, they talk about Wicca, and he also keeps saying throughout, like, and it's different because it's a new religion, and it's open to interpretation, and it's open to adding your own swing to it and stuff like that. So
I was gonna say, isn't a high priest just basically a Big Mac?
Yeah, exactly. That's a Toronto joke.
There's a burger chain, and one of their burgers is called the High Priest, and it's basically a Big Mac.
Yeah, so. It's delicious.
Still never had a Big Mac, so.
Oh man.
Or a High Priest.
A lot of Wiccans do believe in reincarnation. Gardner, who we'll talk about in a bit, said that once a witch, always a witch. So when you die as a witch, you're reincarnated later as another witch, and you'll continue. They've been witches, and they'll continue to be witches.
So can you make new witches though? Like, is that one of those things where it's just like there is a finite amount of witches who can be, and there'll never be more because of that?
I don't think so. I think you can become a witch,
because that's kind of like, so I guess you could grow, but you just can't diminish then.
Yeah, that's definitely what it is. Yeah, I think and there's some karma involved in that. Like, they wouldn't use the word karma, but kind of like how you are as a witch will determine how you're reincarnated as well. Right. So like, you could become a bad person.
Witch.
Yeah.
A bad person.
Okay. Yeah, or a bad witch, or maybe a
Are you
slug?
A good witch or a bad witch?
And and a lot of them
drop
do
a house on you.
Yeah. A lot of them do believe in magic and casting spells and doing rituals. And again, some people just like the rituals for the ritual's sake. Others believe that it does things. Right. So, yeah.
I don't believe that it does things.
Me neither.
I just wanted to clarify, because the show,
like, a lot of them believe that magic is kind of another force of nature. Like, there's a law of nature that includes magic, and magic is kind of,
have we seen anything about that in science at all?
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, it's weird.
I don't know if they have, but
it's weird with those kind of things where it's only the people who believe in that religion have seen any evidence for that.
Right.
And
I feel that that's a common trope. So.
Yeah. With the witch being called a witch thing, a lot of people associate them with Satanism.
Yeah.
And things like that, but they would say, no, we don't believe in Satan. Christians believe in Satan. We don't believe he's a thing. They're pretty staunch, like, we don't believe in Satan, we're not Satanists, we don't worship Satan.
Now, is that connection based through like the belief that magic is in itself like an evil thing, or
I think so,
associated with the devil? Or I'm sure it got more pushed in through media portrayals over like the last 100 years as well. I'm sure that didn't help a lot of it, but it was there long before, where magic was associated with devil and evil. So.
And especially after the Satanic Panic and stuff, or through the Satanic Panic and all that stuff, people are afraid of witchcraft and
totally. Well, I remember growing up and people like trying to ban Harry Potter because it was witchcraft. And
you're
not allowed to read that in church. I'm like, oh no, a fantasy novel for children.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Morals and education, basically.
Yeah. And then here's your Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which is perfectly fine.
Yeah, that's a weird double standard. Is it because C.S. Lewis was a religious scholar as well?
Yeah.
And it was a Christian allegory?
Yeah, exactly. And because the witch is the bad person in that one too. But
right. In Harry Potter, the witch is the good guy.
Exactly.
Harry Potter.
Yeah. Is that who it was? Spoilers. I haven't read it yet.
Yeah. He's the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's funny you saying the witch is the bad person, but in the first book, it's the magician's apprentice, right?
The magician's nephew?
The magician's nephew, right.
Yeah.
Where it seems to be almost too that the magician is a good guy, but it's a guy doing magic. But
that's
for some
true.
reason, when it's a witch, a woman doing the magic, that's more of the evil. Is that it?
Yeah.
Is this something that we should look into? I'm sure there's a connection to it, because I mean, like, again, going into the Salem witch trials, they were predominantly looking at women, were they not?
Yeah. And even like
I think only women. I don't know if there was any.
I think that's
male
a trope
witches.
A lot in like Christian media where it's the woman is the woman who uses magic is considered evil, where like you have the mighty wizard or you have like the magician, and they're not considered as evil or
Right. Is it because they want to deny women independence and power? Is that kind of what it is?
Probably, yeah.
I mean,
that would be my guess. Yeah, something to look into. Yeah.
All right. Well, good thing to think about anyway.
Do you remember, like, okay, so we did the Satanic Panic episode. We talked a lot about like how there was like testimony about like really weird things that were done in like daycares and things like that. And you find out, it's just coarse testimony, and none of it adds up and none of it makes any sense. Right. The same thing happened with the witch trials. Like there was a bunch of different stories about things these, witches were doing.
I'm not surprised by that at all.
Yeah. And so like you have all these different stories about, how the witches practiced, how they did spells. But these are from testimonies from people who are either trying to get somebody put to death or have been coerced by somebody who wants to put these women to death. So they're not really accurate depictions of what happened. They're just, it was mass hysteria and people were saying a lot of different shit. That's what
she
most
turned me into a newt.
I got better. But that's what a lot of scholars believe, that they weren't doing these things. But early 19th century, or I guess mid-ish 19th century, there starts to be this hypothesis that they were practicing these things, and it's an ancient, like, because Christians have been persecuting pagans for years, that these people were legitimately practicing these witchcraft religions or these witch cults, and whether or not they actually did magic, they were still part of these cults, and this started to gain popularity. Not a lot of evidence for that they were actually witches or practicing witchcraft at all. But that got traction, and Margaret Murray, who I mentioned, who was an Egyptologist and a feminist, and studied anthropology and folklore, things like that. She really bought into the witch cult thing and said that these people were practicing this religion, and so she started, and other people started looking at the trials and looking at the accusations and building around that what they think this religion entailed. It's not going back like to ancient texts. It's going to the 1600s, secondhand stories.
People thought it might be.
Yeah. And they start to build ideas around that, mythology around that. And it kind of caught on. And then a guy named Gerald Gardner in 1954, he wrote a book called Witchcraft Today. And this is where the term Wicca, he used the term Wicca as referred to the people, and then with a 1C and then eventually 2 C's in the 60s. Oh yeah, it meant wise people. I thought it meant witch, but yeah, it means wise people. My bad. But with probably roots to the word witch as well. I'm not a wordsmith. So Gardner had always been interested in the occult and interested in like different secret organizations, and like he had joined the Masons at one point and was just kind of into all that stuff. And so he wrote this book kind of based on what Margaret Murray said, based on other ideas of cults and especially witchcraft. And then he eventually wrote the Book of Shadows as well. So it's really, there's not a lot of like ancient roots to this. It's basically from the 30s to the 50s, guessing what happened in the 1600s and before. So
yeah.
Yeah. And then other people built on that. Gardner died 10 years later, like after he wrote Witchcraft Today. He died in 1964 on a boat. He died of a heart attack. And look at this connection to us. Ripley's Believe It or Not has most of his personal collection.
There you go.
There you go.
I know in the 60s and 70s there was a really large fascination towards the occult too.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, I'm sure this was tied up in that too. Like I know like Aleister Crowley was really something that a lot of people were into. A lot of musicians I know. Yeah,
and he knew Aleister Crowley. He had many meetings with him before he wrote the book as well. And so yeah, definitely influenced
so I'm
by
sure.
Yeah.
There's definitely an overlap. Well, there has to be an overlap with these things. So
yeah, exactly. And so yeah, he started the New Forest Covenant coven, sorry. He started that coven, and it was basically based on a lot of folklore from Murray and his books and things like that. And then they kind of gave guidelines for how covens should be. I think a lot of them said 12 to 13 people. Some covens are much larger, some are much smaller.
So was Jesus and his apostles technically a coven?
Maybe. Yep. Yeah.
Something to think about.
Something to think about. Oh, and then Roald Dahl wrote The Witches, and that's the end. No, I'm.
I mean, if we're going into literature, witches, there's a lot of people, like a lot of things we can go through.
Yeah.
That's a whole other thing, I think. Witches in media, witches in literature, The Wizard of Oz, we already brought up.
It's true.
Hocus Pocus.
Oh yeah. So here's the so Starhawk was another author. She wrote a book.
Starhawk.
Yeah. What was
That's
her?
Not a real name.
That wasn't her birth name.
Okay.
Miriam Simos. Miriam Simos was her name, but she went by Starhawk, and she wrote a book called The Spiral Dance: A Rebirth of Ancient Religion of the Great Goddess. So that's where the goddess worship kind of where it's just the goddess, a lot of came out of that. So that's another kind of branch of it. But again, there's a mixing and mingling of different types and things.
A lot of stuff was happening when this was going on.
Yeah, exactly. And but she wrote a more history about how it survived through the ages and how the secret covens and secret societies have been around for centuries.
Yeah,
which have been all debunked. Like none of those covens that she talked about existed or were real or anything like that. And but it's still, it's still going strong. There's still it's not a huge religion, probably like maybe in the hundreds of thousands at the most of people that are involved, but still, especially this time of year, you hear about them.
That's a decent following in social media terms.
That's true. It's more followers than we have.
Hey. We'll have to do a spell to get more followers.
It's true. Yeah, so it started in the 1950s, really, this religion, and historians will say that nothing they believe is true, and nothing they believe is based on any ancient practices. It's just all kind of made up nonsense based on guesses. And Gardner also liked to write in Old English, just like
how obnoxious.
Yeah, exactly. They would write in Old English to make it sound more ancient. And like, what was their read? Oh yeah, their read or rede. I don't know how to pronounce that, but their kind of moral code is "an it harm none, do what thou will," or like a variation of that. "An it harm none, do as thou will." So basically, if it doesn't harm you, just do it. It's fine.
Wasn't "do what thou will" another Crowley saying?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So do what thou shall be, whole of the law. Yeah, that's Crowley's. And then they kind of took that. There was a poem in the 1970s written, like 1964. Yeah, there was a Poelman, and there was a poem written.
Oh, a poem.
By Doreen Valenti, and then that's where they kind of get that code from. So that was written in 1964, but made to sound like ancient
Older,
and
right?
old.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of that
mystique. It feels like a lot of this is just aesthetic.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why, some people just join for the
Which
club.
I'm totally fine with, because I feel like I always get the two mixed up. Church of Satan, or
I do too.
One of those ones. I feel like they're another one where it's predominantly aesthetic.
Yeah.
And people like it for various community and activist reasons and things like that.
Exactly. Like, have you seen that video? Oh, I think you might have sent it to me, of the guy who did the satanic prayer before a cancel meeting, and everybody was like, there's people with crosses holding them up and pouring holy water, whatever else, just freaking out. And at the end, he's like, I don't believe in this stuff. I'm just showing you how ridiculous it is.
Yeah. That's the problem, though. Those people believe the stuff that they're spewing off. I like it that when it's self-aware. When it takes itself too seriously, that's always my issue with these things. But
yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of I saw somebody on Facebook post, please don't dress up as witches. That's part of my culture. No, it's not.
No,
it's
it's
from
not.
Wizard of Oz. You're fine. Wizard of Oz is older than your religion.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
1900 was Wizard of Oz, wasn't it?
The
original one?
I think so. And then
the movie was in the 20s, 29,
36.
36
36
sorry,
or 39.
20s.
Yeah.
It was definitely later.
Well, there was a Wizard of Oz in the 20s, a silent movie, but
Right.
Maybe that's what you were thinking of. I don't know.
That's probably what I was thinking of, whatever.
So old school, they burned the school down. That's how old school you are. Yeah,
that's true. I'm like one of those firecrackers called the burning schoolhouse.
Yeah.
You ever seen those before?
Oh yeah, I love those as a kid. Yeah. And tarot cards is another thing we should look at some point. How it was just invented by a couple of white dudes.
They're pretty. I mean, aesthetically, I like tarot cards.
Yeah.
I know people who do tarot readings, and I'm always, I guess it's a fun little thing.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah, it's like the Magic 8-Ball.
I have food tarot cards.
Oh.
What's called food fortunes, I guess. But basically what you do is you don't know what to eat. And then there's a few different ways you can do it, where you either draw 3 cards or you draw 1 card. And then that helps you decide what to eat, right? So I think the one is you draw 3, and it's you should have the first card, you should stay away from the second, and the third one should be something else that's included with it, or a maybe. It's
okay.
fun.
Nice. Yeah. I always just ask Alexa. But...
Yeah. Oh, does she tell you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's the same thing.
Yes.
You're going to the Oracle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can you change Alexa to respond to Oracle?
I think there's only a handful of names, because I put on Facebook the other day that I want to change her name to Guys. Hey, Guys, turn down the volume.
Yeah. I think Oracle, turn up the volume on that computer.
I think that's how I got on. Oh yeah, so they stole a lot of Masonic stuff too. But that's pretty much all I got on Wiccas so far.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I was actually because you mentioned just going back a little bit, the horn god, and you're saying about Masons, and I was wondering, is it Baphomet?
Oh yeah, no, I think that's different. But that
because I was looking at it. They say it was allegedly worshipped by the Knights Templar. And I don't know if it's connected to it, but I mean, it is a horned kind of goat devil god thing. So I don't know if those things are connected in any way. That might be something for us to do a little research on for the next episode.
A lot of old imagery of gods with horns.
Totally. Yeah.
So I wonder if it's just a combination of different boom.
Well, especially if they're just making it up in the 60s.
Yeah. High on LSD.
They didn't have the internet yet, too. So they were probably just whatever they could find at their local library.
That's true. Yeah. It's when you see in horror movies when they're at the library looking through old books and stuff. It's just Google that shit,
Give me the phone book for Tokyo. Can I use your phone?
Is it a local call? Yes. So should we thank some patrons?
You know what? I think we should.
Yes.
Oh my God! Wow! Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Bible study. It's really great to have you all here, especially within this hallowed, scary, evil season.
That's right. I mean, we've just went through a nice holiday, Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
And for our American listeners, we'll be going into your Thanksgiving, which is another nice holiday. So 2 nice holidays, bookending this time of evil and darkness.
Evil. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like the evil monkey of old.
That's correct. And because of that, I think now is a good time to thank some people too, to really, we just want to say thank you to Teresa and Adam and Tasha. And we want to say thank you to Mark and Jake. And we don't want to forget Sid or Orion. I want to thank LJ and, of course, Cheryl.
And I just have a very special prayer request for Nova. Nova's been walking around with the COVID mask over the Halloween mask. And I think you can do it the other way around. I think you can just put the medical mask under your Halloween mask, and then it just looks a little more aesthetically pleasing. And I think
that's fair.
Not that you should be celebrating the evil holiday at all, but if you are, just make it right,
That's fair. And I have a prayer request for our friend Prickle Anna. We'll say Prickle for now. Prickle has been going around cutting holes in all the sheets to make spooky ghost costumes for everybody. And I gotta say, it's becoming a real problem because I don't have any more sheets for the bed because they all have holes in them. So Anna, if you're going to be a ghost, just pick one sheet and ruin one sheet, not all the sheets, please.
And I just have a very special prayer request for Sin Pie. They've been putting fun size sodas in people's trick-or-treat bags instead of the full cans of soda, which is fine, but everybody loves when you get that full can of soda in there, especially if you have a friend over after and you're doing a sleepover and you want that quick energy to keep you up all night.
Well, so, everyone knows that a diet caffeine-free cola is the best thing that you can get trick-or-treating.
That's true.
Not that we endorse it here, because it is an evil time full of sin and temptation. With all their sexy costumes and gluttony.
That's true. I also want to acknowledge that there are a few people who upped their patronage, and we will thank you as well, and we'll put you on another list. And I do appreciate that.
You're on our list.
You are on our list, and we do appreciate you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
But let's move on to a Christian rock lyric.
Christian rock lyric of the week.
Can't you see you're not making Christianity better? You're just making rock and roll worse.
Let's see what we got. We got a returning champion. The guy I always defend, and then he ends up. I read his lyrics, and they're awful.
I feel like you've done that for most of these musicians. These guys were good, and then I'm like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, this is Larry Norman again. This is a song called "Forget Your Hexagram."
Okay. Is that like when you send someone a hex in the mail, like by telegram?
Like, I guess so. I thought, isn't it like, because it sounds like he's talking about a pentagram, but it's a hexagram. Right. So wait, what is hex? Is that 6?
That's 6.
So that's the Star of David.
Oh no.
Ooh, I don't know. But but the rest of the lyrics seemed like he's talking about the cult, like occultic stuff. So
the band, The Cult.
Yeah, the band The Cult. And actually, I remember once my stepmom was like talking about how she doesn't want to watch a movie because it's said in the description it's a cult classic, and she doesn't want to support a cult.
That's good.
Let's see here. Forget your hexagram. You'll soon feel fine. Stop looking at the stars. You don't live under the signs. Don't mess with gypsies. I think that's a race of people. Or have your fortune read. Keep your table on the floor, and don't you listen to the dead. You can't
Table on the
hitchhike.
floor.
Yeah, because they would do the seances where the
sometimes
table would.
levitate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't listen to the dead. You can't hitchhike your way to heaven. The devils close the road.
Wait a minute. Okay. First thing, they say, don't listen to the dead and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But don't people constantly pray to like God and they want to talk to their loved ones as like angels and shit and look for guidance and all that garbage about like guardian angels and stuff? Isn't that kind of the same?
Kind of,
thing?
yeah.
Like, really? It's just within their kind of framework of what's acceptable.
Yeah, it's true. Like we would always, because like after my grandparents died when I was like 10, I was like, can we pray to them? And then my dad was like, no, but you can ask God to send them a message. And so like,
Right.
And then the kid, like different belief systems have different ways of looking at that. Like you can pray to the saints, which are just dead people, or
So
Yeah.
you are still communing with the dead. It just, not the right dead.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So
he doesn't like having a spooky Halloween fun time. That's
what this guy's saying. Yeah. And he said, you live once and you die once with no reincarnate episodes. You can't hitchhike to heaven, and then blah blah blah. So a lot of stuff I agree with. Yeah, you can't do this stuff, but you don't go to hell for it.
No, you don't go to heaven either.
Yeah, exactly. Like the devil closed them roads.
Country roads, the devil's closed.
Yeah, and then all the diners that were on the road to heaven go out of business, and the gas stations.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. The favorite little burger joint halfway to heaven.
Yeah.
I guess you're on the highway to hell there, though.
Stupid devil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for listening again. Thanks.
Yeah. Tune in next time for more believing things or not. And we'll catch you on the flip side.
We'll catch you on that flip.
And don't forget to check out the YouTubes and everything else, because we're doing this because we love doing this and we love you.
Mm-hmm. And we may have a little bit of a bonus episode next week
bonus
with a guest star.
Well, star is a little generous.
Yeah. Guest dwarf planet.
Sure, that works.
Okay. Cool.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Work, Sky Moon.
This podcast has been brought to you by the Sonar Network. Sonar!
Oh, boy.
So I'll send you the live stream link.
Mm-hmm.
We can hop on there 5 minutes before, make sure everything's working like a
We're
charm.
doing 6 or 6.
6 o'clock, yeah.
6 o'clock. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So in 45 minutes or so.
Should
I
we
have time?
Should we end the podcast first?
Oh, yeah, we didn't end it.
I just thought we'd do
I'll
that.
cut this part out. Yeah.
That's fine.
Good,
I just
good
figured
smart.
we'd do that
Yeah.
before we get lost and completely forget about it.
I just felt like we were having chit chats.
We were.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. We should probably do the,